need a third person? Okay. I think we are. Well, Allison. Yes, and we're pulling this out. We're pulling the communication out.
So we'll see.
Council Cronin wants that
I don't
regular.
know if there's discussion with the mayor, but
All rise. I'd like to take a minute to remember the people who are not here, people who are ill. Thank you.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If the clerk will please call the roll.
Council Hartwig. He's absent. Council Herzog.
Present.
Council Jones.
Present.
Council Hutchinson.
Present.
Council Sullivan.
Present.
Council Cameron.
Here.
Council Connell.
Present.
Councilor Cronin.
One of us is here.
Looking well. Councilor Darrow.
Present.
Council President O'Brien is absent. Council President Pro Tem Earls.
Present. There is one late file, I believe.
There is one late file, Mr. President. It's on the councilor's desk. It was a block party called communication number 3. It's with respect to TSC construction on Greenleaf and
Hill.
Hill. Thank you.
President, I'd like to move that the council rules be suspended, that the late file might be accepted.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. It'll go into the regular agenda under consent. Clerk, would please have public comment. There's no comment tonight. Move on to the consent agenda, please.
Which consists this evening of the approval of the September 30th meeting minutes. The communication on number 1, roadway and sidewalk project update, has been pulled at the request of Council Cronin to do the regular agenda. There are a number of appointments, first reading. These are appointments as opposed to reappointments. U. Kelleher, 12 Atwood Street, to the Tree Commission, October 30th, 2016. And Dr. Barry Spiro, 4 Lafayette Street, Disability Commission, until November 1st, 2016. The following are reappointments. Karen B. Weiner, 7 Lincoln Street, Newburyport Affordable Housing Trust, until September 1st, 2014. Paul J. Harrington, 251B High Street, Tree Commission, November 1st, 2016. Daniel P. Washall, 47 Plummer Ave, Conservation Commission, September 1st, 2015. Jeffrey Briggs, 17 Dalton Street, Highland Cemetery Commission, November 1st, 2016. Kevin Wallace, 40 Oak Street, Fruit Street Local Historic District, October 30th, 2016. Susan Chase, 44 Oak Street, Emma Andrews, Branch Library, until October 30th, 2014. The next 4 are to the Emma Andrews until October 30th, 2014. That would be Kristen Sherman, 9 60th Street, John Conway, 27 Marlborough Street, Elizabeth Valeriani, 29 Oak Street, and the 12th one has been pulled and is not part of the appointment at the present moment. Last appointment, I should say reappointment, is Kathleen Shea, 2 Belcher Street, Assistant Treasurer Collector until November 1st, 2016, and that is the end of
Wish of the council?
Motion approved. Second.
Any discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. At this time, I would like to invite the mayor in to give a presentation of Plum Island Water and Sewer. If Councilor Jones and Councilor Cronin, please usher the mayor into the council chambers.
That's enough.
All rise.
Mayor?
Please be seated.
Good evening, councilors, and thank you for the opportunity to give you a brief update on the Plum Island water and sewer situation. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity tonight to give you a brief update because I know that the at-large debate is tomorrow night, and some of you who would have liked to have been at the resident meeting tomorrow out on Plum Island are unable to. So hence, I'm here tonight to give you a brief update. First, I'm happy to report that today we finally received a statement from the Attorney General's office, which I'd like to read to you. Quote, over the past year, the Attorney General's office has conducted an investigation of the construction of the Plum Island Utility Services Project. The AG's investigation has identified significant construction defects, in particular the failure to guard against corrosion. The Department of Environmental Protection worked closely with the AG, has found no evidence to date that the identified construction defects pose any risk to public health. Our office is working toward a legal resolution to correct the problems with the Plum Island utility system. Any AG resolution is separate from and will not interfere with the city's own legal rights. Our office has informed the city that our action does not preclude it from providing further details about the scope of this problem to the public. So this was an important piece of information that we were waiting for from the Attorney General, as we have been working diligently on two tracks, one with the Attorney General and one with our own legal team on investigating what's been going on the Plum Island water and sewer situation. This began, as you recall, in April of 2011 when we had the first water main break. When immediately red flags were raised for me. This is a brand new system, why are we having a water main break? From there, as you recall, we contacted the DA's office, who assigned us an inspector, who assigned us a detective, who went over all of the initial findings we had to date at that point. We had the one water main break, we had opened up a couple test pits, and we're finding the same kinds of conditions in terms of the corrosion and deterioration of the metals in the system. At that point, they told us, the AG's office, DA's office told us we had sufficient information, and then referred us to the Inspector General. The Inspector General worked with us for about a 9-month period in terms of hiring an independent engineer who also did some record inspections. We opened up a couple more test pits for they completed a detailed report that is not available currently because of pending litigation on both sides, the AG as well as the city of Newburyport. And at that point, after the Inspector General's report, the case was then referred to the Attorney General. At that point, we had had several executive sessions to talk about some of the litigation strategies we were working on, and we made a decision as, with the permission of the council, to hire a new legal firm, Rubin and Rudman, out of Boston, who we've been working with since last January. At that point, the investigation was continuing, but we needed to at least have an opportunity to present some preliminary information, what we knew to date, to the residents of Plum Island. That meeting happened last February, and the response I said to them is, after we have additional information regarding the corrosion of materials, which was the next step, then we would have a follow-up meeting. It took several months of our working directly with CDM Smith to the contractor of record to come to consensus on what the protocol would be for testing the corrosive materials or materials that we took out of the 2 water main breaks, as well as we wanted to do additional boring tests so that we could send soil and groundwater samples to a lab in Newark, Delaware. We've hired an engineer, we've hired an independent lab, and our city engineer, John Eric White, as well as a representative from the lab we hired, went in June to a company selected by CDM Smith. Chain of custody was maintained for all the materials that were sent down for testing. We received the report in early August of their findings. No surprises, it's exactly what we had anticipated in terms of the accelerated corrosion of materials that were used within the system. We have met with CDM Smith about 5 times over the course of this whole investigation, and the reason that it became so important for us to schedule another public meeting was because CDM Smith is planning on going out to the island and doing some fixes and additional tests. So it was important that we pushed for this notice from the AG's office and able to hold another meeting with the residents out on Plum Island, which will happen tomorrow night, where we will present a little more detail of what I've just presented with you here tonight. Where we are at this juncture with CDM Smith is that they would like to remove as much metal as possible from the 2 water main breaks, the directional drill area, as well as across the other side of the turnpike. They have presented to us options for different choice of materials, which is currently being reviewed by our engineering consultants, our legal team, as well as our lab in terms of what materials to use. At the same time, they will be replacing any pieces in the sewer system that are metal that they possibly can replace at this time. So we're working on protocol for that before they will advance and begin any work on the island. What will happen sooner than that, which will happen most likely early November, once we get review of the Conservation Commission, which is happening in Newbury tonight, and in 2 weeks here, permission for them to go out to the island to do additional 50 boring tests. What the goal of that is to, again, pull out groundwater and soil samples from different areas on Plum Island as well as the turnpike, and then evaluate those results in comparison to what we have found on the directional drill and the other water main area to determine if those samples are similar, if we're going to, if they're same types of issues that we found, same type of soil, same types of groundwater were present there, and then we begin the next level in terms of where we go from here. So that's sort of a quick synopsis of where we are with the process. We'd be happy to take any questions.
I have one, if you don't mind. Thank you for coming in and updating us, for one. But when they come in now to do all this testing, is the city of Newburyport responsible for paying for that, or are they coming in to do it for nothing?
No, everything that has happened to date, that, for example, all the testing in Newark, Delaware, was covered by CDM Smith. We certainly have incurred legal costs. We certainly have incurred consultant costs, no question about that. We're keeping records of all of that, as well as all of our staff time devoted to records, et cetera, but it will be their team who will be coming in doing the geotech borings with supervision from our staff as well as our consultant engineer.
Thank you. Echoing Councilor Sullivan, I'd like to thank you for coming in and providing the synopsis. As you know, I won't be able to be at the meeting tomorrow night, so what sort of detail will you be providing tomorrow night that you're not providing tonight? Just in summary.
Stepping back in time, because there will be residents out there who weren't at the first public meeting last February. So it's basically a little more detail going back in time that you have heard from me previously, so it's a little bit more of that, but there's not a lot more detail we can share about the corrosion other than that's, we weren't surprised by the results. And the fact that, I am encouraged that CDM Smith is at the table and trying to, put forward some, at least at this point, limited fixes.
And just as a quick follow-up, is CDM working with the city directly, or are there an intermediary?
We're working directly with them.
Okay.
We actually have asked that there be no attorneys at the table when we sit and with our teams and just exchange. No decisions are made until things are taken back and reviewed by legal, our lab, and our engineering consultants.
Thank you.
Councilor Jones?
The incurred costs for litigation, et cetera, are those borne by the general fund or by the sewer and water department? And will it be, do we have an anticipation of a portion for that?
It is borne by the sewer and water at this point, and we anticipate requesting additional reimbursement for these. That should be part of the settlement, is covering all these costs. Our goal, obviously, is that no resident will be responsible for any of the costs to repair, replace, fix this system. No cost will be borne by any of the residents.
Cronin?
Thank you for being here. Do we know a scope of this problem as far as, maybe you don't want to, maybe that shouldn't be public knowledge, I don't know, but do we have a scope of where this problem lies? Is it just near the bridge, or is it island-wide?
I think that's an excellent question. I think that's what the next step in these boring tests is going to reveal to us. Because once we can determine that the conditions are the same that were in the directional drill, as well as on the other side of the turnpike where the other water main break happened, that gives us additional information and additional analysis of what has to happen next. We'll have more information once these boring tests are done.
Any further? I want to thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Thank you, councilors.
Thank you. Be seated. Continue with the regular agenda, which will be communication number 2, it's labeled, but we'll call it number 1, Mayor's Annual Health and Wellness.
A memo from the mayor to further members of the city council on October 26, 2013. Mayor's office, in conjunction with the health department, will host the mayor's annual health and wellness fair at Brown Square in City Hall beginning at 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. Vendors from the greater Newburyport area, surrounding communities in Boston have been invited to participate. They present a first ever Halloween pet costume parade and children's costume parade. Additionally, they will offer a citywide influenza vaccine clinic to be held in the city council chamber for all Newburyport residents. I'd like me to read the entire thing, Mr. President.
Hear a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. I'd like to take up the block party application, please, which is a late file. I think it'll take less conversation than the next one.
It is a late file signed off by all parties. It is for October 20th, 2013 at Greenleaf and Hill Streets from 3 p.m. until 8 p.m.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Mr. Clerk, would please tell the petitioner that it's been approved. And communication number 1, which has been pulled.
So that is a 3-page memo, Mr. President. It is a summary of roadway and sidewalk funding and work that's been completed in calendar years 2012, 2013, as well as planned projects for 2014. Would you like me just to hit the street names?
Yes, please.
Okay. Colton Street, Wilkinson Drive, Mulligan Way, Jefferson Street, Jefferson Court, Lansing Court, other related Chapter 9 funding, line striping, project inspection, field oversight. Following roadway projects have begun and/or are scheduled for calendar year 2014. Merrill Street, Purchase Street, crack sealing also. Other potential projects for calendar year 14, Willow Ave, must be Willow Ave, it says Willow Street, Brooks Court, Stanley Ave, Jackson Street, Bromfield Street, Carlton Drive. And then it goes on to talk about certain sidewalks.
Motion to receive and file?
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Cronin.
I just have several questions on this that I think need to be addressed before we receive and file this. So I don't know how you'd like me to go about it.
You'd like to send it to committee, is what you're saying? We get questions right now.
I mean, we can send it, whatever the will of the council is, we can send it to committee. But I personally think that this is something that should be more out in the public than in a
If the maker of the original motion agrees.
I will take back my motion.
I'll withdraw my second, sure.
I'll make a motion to send to Neighborhood and City Services.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Cronin.
Several of the questions I have is when you come over to the last page in here, it says tentative calendar year 14 sidewalk projects may include but not limited to. When you read through that list, the first one, Bromfield at Hancock, that's neighborhoods. Park Street at Harris, that to me is in or near the downtown. Water Street and State, in or near the downtown. NRA lot entrance, in or near the downtown. Maritime Museum, in or near the downtown. Center Street, in or near the downtown. Charles Street, I'll give you. State Street at Garden, in or near the downtown. Middle Street at Center Street, in or near the downtown. Unicorn Street at Pleasant Street, in or near the downtown. My point to Neighborhood and City Services would be that I believe that 50% of neighborhood or sidewalk repairs was to be distributed through the wards and not in the downtown, which I'm standing here asking, Neighborhood and City Services to look at this. Next part of that is, some of you have been here much longer than I have, and my next question would be that in the past, I know that ward councilors have had the opportunity to provide information as far as the needs and the desires of their ward. This seems to be already written, and then we have to go and maybe ask a little bit. So I'd ask that Neighborhood and City Services look at that. I would then go to page 2 and ask that Neighborhood and City Services, the city utilizes a pavement management system. Another 5-year update will be completed in 2014. Well, apparently there is a list. I have not seen the list. Perhaps Neighborhood and City Services could come up and get that list. So that's kind of why I would like this to be explored a little bit.
Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. 2 years ago, I was invited to attend a sidewalk planning committee group that had been formed. We met twice over the course of probably 3 months, and we've not met again. I understand that there was a criteria being formed, much like the criteria on a point system that was being put together for our road repair. And I've yet to see an update or a schedule of further opportunity to discuss this point system or the projections for what sidewalks are going to be done. And I don't know if anybody has heard me mention Merrimack Street for their absolutely appalling sidewalk conditions that have existed for no small number of years, and over the past 8 years, I've repeatedly suggested that there were a number of sidewalks outside the downtown area that needed attention. First and foremost, in my mind, Merrimack Street. Since the people who try and walk down what has again, with the reopening of the Chain Bridge, become a major east-west thoroughfare, and creates a condition where people's lives can be at stake trying to navigate those macadam or asphalt sidewalks that are in such states of disrepair and wind up using the travel lanes to get around certain areas. Clearly, State Street receives a good bit of attention, and I know it's a popular walking area, but the constituents of the rest of the city deserve some attention, some recognition, and some fair play when it comes to improvement of their sidewalks.
That's a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think both of the previous councilors have pointed out some serious issues, and if we're out there knocking on doors, this is the time of year to be doing it. We're all aware of the fact that the streets and sidewalks are in many cases in deplorable condition. We've obviously appropriated more money over the last several years than we had previously, but we're still working against a backlog that had accumulated for years. So I would like to suggest that we post this not just as a meeting of the Committee on Neighborhood and City Services, but a community meeting involving the entire council, so posting it as a committee of the whole, and that would give all councilors the opportunity to bring what they've observed to the table and hash over this list and see if there's some modifications that might be recommended to the Department of Public Services.
Second that motion.
I don't want to beat a dead horse here. I just want to just point out one thing that maybe I was unclear on, and that is when you look at those streets that are out near the downtown, or sidewalks that are out near the downtown, that's what I thought the parking money was for.
Yep.
Okay, not the meals tax money. So the downtown has a fund, an appropriate fund, and we need that, and we need the other fund for our wards, our
For
neighborhoods.
Councilor Cooney for a second, as the council representing downtown, I don't like this discussion at all.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I thank Councilor Cronin for reading off the list of sidewalk projects in calendar year 14 that may be worked on, but may not be worked on. And specifically, I see that Charles Street is on it. A few days ago, I was talking with Susan Sandercock, who is the property manager at the James Steam Mill, and she has repeatedly contacted the city in recent months about the deplorable conditions on the Charles Street sidewalk. And I was recently walking on it. It's no wonder that work really needs to be done there. I'd also like to ask Mr. President Peter Lombardi a quick question. Several weeks back, City Council approved a request from the Department of Public Works to buy into a bulk purchase through the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission to install an asset management software. So two questions for you, if you don't mind. One is, do you have an update, a general update as to when that might be installed in the city? And number two is, with respect to this communication that talks about street schedules and sidewalk schedules, that information, as I understood it, would be in this software program that residents would be able to look at as an alternative to memos coming to the City Council, correct?
So to answer your first question, Councilor Herzog, I know that the DPW directors for the various communities that have bought into the CMMS system that you referred to that was approved have had, I believe, 2 preliminary meetings. They've finalized the contract with the vendor and issued a notice to proceed. And I don't know the exact timing of implementation. I know there's a phased rollout, and they were talking about the initial phasing sometime in the next month or so. In terms of your second question, I'm not sure if I quite understand it. Are you saying if we have a rating system for assessing sidewalks, that would be integrated into this program, or?
My understanding is, I remember asking you and others about programs, software programs such as, Fix My Street and stuff like that,
C-Click
where a
Fix.
resident, where a C-Click Fix, where a resident would be able to take, let's say, a cell phone, take a picture of something and share it onto DPW. And my understanding is that the CMMS program would allow such a module.
Absolutely.
So therefore, if Councilor Cronin is walking along the city somewhere and takes a picture of some sidewalk, he can, it goes into the CMMS system, and then over time, he'll be able to see the status updates of where that project is in relation to everything else.
You've described it exactly, yeah. You'll be able
So this-
to report issues either by phone, using, sending photos, any of those things, emails, and then you'll be able to track where the request is in
So,
the queue.
thank you. So therefore, while that program may not talk about the amount of money allocated for each project, when you're talking about a list of tentative calendar year 14 sidewalk projects, this list would be in that program.
Certainly would be, and it would be something that, again, season to season, conditions change in a given street, the abuse of winters and everything. But yeah, that list would be
Thank you.
public, yes.
With all due respect to the council, this is really, there's an amendment on the floor, a motion to send to committee of the whole. And we're getting to a point of discussion where it should be done in committee. We're going to the details of the motion, of the order itself.
Fair enough.
Move the
Any
question.
more conversations? Move the question. It's an amendment to the motion to send it to the committee of the whole.
Second, if it hasn't been.
I believe it was seconded.
I think we've had discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Move on to orders. The main motion.
Correct.
We need to vote on the main motion?
Yes.
Send the neighborhood and
The
city
motion now,
services?
I believe, is been amended to say neighborhood city services and community input.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved and sent. Thank you. Now orders, please.
Order number one. Dated October 1st, 2013, City Council of the City of Newburyport accepts the provisions of Chapter 73, Section 4, as amended by 125 Acts of 1988, to act under adverse statute to increase by up to 100% the amount of property tax exemptions for persons who qualify under clauses 17B, 22, 22A, etc.
Motion to refer to Budget and Finance.
Second.
Any discussion about the referral?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask that the Committee on Budget and Finance look at the fact that the Act of 1986, as amended in 1988, reflects hard numbers. Hard numbers which in 1988 would have certainly represented a substantial portion of the tax burden that these most vulnerable members of our society are forced to live with and burden. And that today they make a very minimal impact on the rather large tax burdens that property owners here in the city of Newburyport, as well as all property owners in the Commonwealth, face. As an example, if one looks at their 1988 tax bill, they may find that the average annual tax bill in the city was around $2,400 per property, and a $500 to $1,000 exemption would make a considerable difference to an elder. But if you look at the fact that some of those tax burdens now run more along the lines of $6,000 or $7,000 per year, that $500 benefit to a widowed person on a fixed income is substantially less than where we need to be, and we should, A, look at how this affects our constituents immediately, and B, petition the great and general court of the Commonwealth to address the fact that we have people living in a serious economic burden in this Commonwealth because they have not updated the chapters in 1988.
Thank you. Councilor Cameron?
Thank you, Mr. President. I think this also would be a good opportunity just to look at how we outreach around these different exemptions. I know when you first look at this, it's kind of confusing, and I'm sure it is. If we've only got 182 households taking part in these various provisions out of 6,000 households, I mean, I'm sure we've got more disabled and elderly and veteran and blind households that could take advantage of this. I think we haven't looked at that really in probably 3-4 years, so we can do that as well.
Just, can we maybe get Kevin Hunt to the meeting?
Yeah, and we can, and I think Roseanne Robillard as well.
Yes.
We have residential.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moved and sent. Moves to ordinances.
This is section 229, special meetings. We're inserting a new section, 2-29, special meetings. Second reading inserts a new paragraph A and paragraph B that talks about who can call it, when can call it, and for what purpose.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sorry, this is a roll call. If the clerk would be so kind as to call the roll for an ordinance.
He so looks
Always
forward
testing
to this.
Councilor Hartquist is still absent. Councilor Herzog.
Yes.
Councilor Hutchison.
Yes.
Councilor Jones.
Yes.
Councilor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilor Cameron.
Yes.
Councilor Connell.
Yes.
Councilor Cronin.
Yes.
Councilor Darrell.
Yes.
Councilor Bryan is still absent. Council President.
Yes. Thank you.
And the second on that would.
Yes.
Sure.
Sure.
Ordinance number 2.
Which is section 2-128, records to be kept, employee records, amend by adding the following paragraph. Such records kept by a department head under the section shall be consistent with those maintained by the Director of Human Resources, specified in the charter, notwithstanding provisions, the official personnel records of all city employees shall be considered to be those compiled and maintained by the Director of Human Resources, submitted to Councilor Thomas O'Brien, Councilor Richard Sullivan.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? If the clerk would please call the roll.
Councilor Herzog.
Yes.
Councilor Hutchison.
Yes.
Councilor Jones.
Yes.
Councilor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilor Cameron.
Yes.
Councilor Connell.
Yes.
Councilor Cronin.
Yes.
Councilor Darrell.
Yes.
Councilor Earls.
Yes. Ordinance 3, interest on water and sewer bills.
2-392, add a new section, the interest charge of 14% per annum shall be made on water and sewer bills remaining unpaid 31 days after the issue date specified on the quarterly bill. A demand charge of $5 shall be added to any water and sewer account that remains unpaid and delinquent after the final bill is issued in that fiscal year, submitted to Councilor Edwards Cameron.
Motion approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilor Herzog.
Yes.
Councilor Hutchison.
Yes.
Councilor Jones.
No.
Councilor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilor Cameron.
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
Councilor Cronin.
Yes.
Councilor Darrell.
Yes.
Councilor Rose.
Yes. Number 4, annual report to be made.
In the report, section 64, city boards, committees, commissions, and authorities that are established by ordinance or whose members are confirmed by city council shall make an annual report to the council of all matters coming under its jurisdiction.
Motion approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilor Herzog.
Yes.
Councilor Hutchison.
Yes.
Councilor Jones.
Yes.
Councilor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilor Cameron.
Aye.
Councilor Cronin.
No.
Councilor Cronin.
Yes.
Councilor Darrell.
Yes.
Councilor Earls.
Yes. Ordinance number 5 is a resident parking to add Ashland Street.
Beginning at the lower corner of Ashland Court, proceeding northerly on Ashland Street to Merrimack Street on both sides. Submitted Councilor Thomas F. Jones.
E. Jones. Council. Yes, you have.
Lisa,
And I would move to refer to public safety.
Second.
Lisa got your picture right.
Yeah, it was the bald guy.
Just find a picture of Mr. Clean.
I believe I heard a second among the Gatorlings.
Yep.
Any
Second.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is sent. Parking at Winter Street.
Ordinance number 6, section 13-180, same resident parking program, add G2 by adding the following streets or portions. Winter Street.
Motion to refer to public safety.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is also sent.
Ordinance number 7, section 13-181, parking lot. Add G, no person shall park vehicle longer than 1 hour in 4 spaces on the westerly side of the Waterfront Trust lot immediately adjacent to the eastward side of Brown's Walk Building at 48 block 25, and in the 4 spaces at the northerly end of said lot adjacent to the boardwalk. Submitted Council Robert J. Cronin.
Motion to refer to public safety.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it has been sent. We move on to committee items, and we'll begin with budget and finance.
Thank you.
Prepared?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, motion to remove from committee the supplemental budget request number 1.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moves out.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you, Mr. President. It's in everyone's packet, and I can just do a quick recap. We met as Budget and Finance earlier tonight, as you probably recall, and it is notated in the clerk's scribbles on the original order. We did pass in council the zoning review for $60,000. That's bullet number 1. We approved at the last council meeting the sidewalk repairs for $60,000. And we approved bullet 5, the Bartlett Mall signage for $2,500. So those remaining items were discussed tonight in Budget and Finance. Pretty quickly, $50,000 for some minor roadway repairs that can't be, this is just roads, it's not sidewalks. That can't be funded under Chapter 90 because Chapter 90 has to be a repair that's of a certain threshold. So that's to fix 3 streets, $7,000 for a leaf debris loader. That had been in the capital budget last couple of years. That would replace a 13-year-old piece of equipment. At the fire station, something that really hasn't been, it's down the road in the capital improvement plan, but there were some tiles that were coming up at the Greenleaf station, and the chief had somebody remove the tile and had it tested, and it's asbestos, and that's pretty deteriorated, needs to be repaired. Same time, in the same space, the old dispatch console should be replaced at the same time. That's something we talked about would be, the city's not anywhere near joining that regional dispatch program. We are looking to consolidate perhaps fire and police, and whatever happened, this is a console that would be used in the future. Some upgrades to the filing system for the clerk's office, both here in council chambers and in the clerk's area. A Microsoft license for archiving emails. Basically, every email that is sent by a city employee needs to be, even if they delete it, it needs to be retained in the system for up to 3 years. And right now, that's a challenge. This would put us in compliance with that. And the marshal was at the meeting and talked about upgrading the mobile data terminals in the cruisers. This would be using iPads, and actually it sounds like it would be a lot, much improved over the old systems we have, which I think are 15 years. They're pretty old. And then the last thing was $13,500 for 3 copier, scanner, printer, fax machines, one for health, one for the treasurer's office, and the other for fire. Basically, the fire chief can't scan anything right now and email that to anybody at City Hall. And these would be buying those copier scanners as opposed to leasing them. And right now across the city, we've got a hodgepodge of different vending arrangements, and it's something the city's trying to consolidate. We did approve these 3-0, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. Thank you.
Currently, we're looking at these collectively, I believe. If any council would like to pull one out or do them all individually, we can certainly entertain that. Or if you're all very comfortable doing it as collectively, whatever the will of the council is. Council Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to make one quick comment on this. The asbestos tiles at the fire station, they've been coming up one by one and breaking for like the last 10 or 15 years. So that is something I can, happily join in on voting to approve. The other part is the radio console. For a lot of you people that don't know, that console sits on top of the floor that's already there, so it has to come up anyway. And I think by putting in a new console in a smaller area, the room out there will be better used. But also, I think that it would help us to keep and retain our dispatch centers here in Newburyport, where I think the public will be better served by it. Thank you.
Also, just to add, I mean, we're talking about spending money, but where this money came from, when we originally voted on our FY14 budget, we did that at the beginning of June. But we based that revenue number on figures that were derived in February, so that was based on the House Ways and Means budget. When the state budget went through House to Senate and then finally in conference, there was additional local aid monies, and also our local receipts were increased a bit, so that's where this $285,000 is coming from. We're not taking it from, transferring it from anywhere else. We're not increasing property tax or anything, but that's money that had been added through mainly the state.
Councilor Connell.
Just for the viewing public who may be concerned about or wondering which of the streets is going to be added, the 4 streets were Shandell, let me see, Shandell, Ferry, Noble, and some parts of Federal Street. So if people are concerned about their streets, some of those repairs are going to be done with the supplemental money. Let's start.
Any further discussion? A roll call, please. This is collectively.
Collectively supplemental budget request number 1. Councilor Herzog.
Yes.
Councilor Hutchinson.
Yes.
Councilor Jones.
Yes.
Councilor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilor Cameron. Yes. Councilor Thomas.
Yes.
Councilor Cronin.
Yes.
Councilor Garrett.
Yes.
Councilor Earls.
Yes. Anything else from Budget and Finance, please?
No.
Anything joint ed, the chair is not here. License permit, nothing. Neighbors and City Services.
Nothing at this time.
Planning and Development.
Nothing at this time.
Public Safety.
Nothing at this time.
Public Utilities.
Nothing at this time.
Good of the order. Councilor Connell and Councilor Sullivan.
The Red Sox won.
That is good.
That's the best.
Well, so much for the DVR. Thanks, Councilor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just think that, all right, I'll start off at the beginning. 2 weeks ago, approximately 2 weeks ago, there was an incident up to the Mosley Estate, or what's now called Mosley, where a gentleman was reported drowning. And Officer Purdy was the first one to get there. She threw the gentleman a life ring, and he very quickly went underwater, and she was stuck in the mud. The deputy fire chief then showed up, put on a survival suit, and went in and rescued this gentleman. He was underwater for approximately 4 minutes. They got him out of the water, and they got the gentleman back within 6 minutes, and he is alive and well today. But talking with the fire chief, over the phone 2 weeks ago. He said that everybody that was involved performed over and above what was expected of them, and I think that's to be commended.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further good of the order? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So adjourned.
What's the motion?
In the pond or in the river?
Just to entertain a motion.
There's a pond in there
I know there are a couple.
that, you know, the guy was swimming in, I guess. Yeah, down in the back, yeah.
Scummy one.
Councilor Herzog, signing
No,
off.
we're cleaning that. 99% we're cleaning that. Bradbury.
Steve Bradbury. Wow. Because none of those ponds is too deep. None of those 3 ponds are
Dick
too
and
deep.
Brian.
There's the Beaver Pond, there's one below Three Arches Bridge.
There's just a little pond in the back.
I gotta get this shit out of the committee, at least half of it. Now, what's the story
Drunk.
with your boy up on Scott Mitchell? And he tells me. Yeah.